You know, so the Free Mind Fest is more than just a festival. We're not here to just escape and ignore the problems. We're actually using the fest environment to focus on the truth. Because a lot of times people go to festivals just to get high and to escape life. So we're here to experience it. Come to experience the truth, not to escape it. That's what it's about. So this is what we're here for, and it's more than just a festival. We want to continue on as a network, as the Free Mind Network, where we gather together free minds. This is a gathering of free minds. There's a lot of free minds in the audience today, a lot of free minds speaking, a lot of free minds vending. And we need to come together because what's coming down the line, we need to network with each other so we can survive it and survive it doing well. Because you can survive this. It's survivable, and within any collapse, after a collapse, there's a rebuild. So we can rebuild, and we need to be there, and we need to learn from each other so we can all work with each other and each other's skill sets. So I tried to bring together everybody's different skill sets who are using it for the betterment. So this is what it's all about. We're going to continue on with a Free Mind Network. Everybody sign up at the door, and we're going to turn the freemindfest.com, and we're going to continue on as a network. So keep an eye on that. So next up is Professor Karim Darwish. So we're very thankful to have Professor Karim. We had somebody who couldn't make it last minute, had some troubles that they had to deal with. So Karim called me last night synchronistically because he was going to come and set up a vending table. Karim set up right over there. Make sure you go see him. So he called me last night, and he has a. I started reading his book, and he's going to talk about something. What's the book again? Ayahuasca Unveiling, Sacred Plant Medicine. I'm like, perfect. The one person fell through, but he could step up and give you how we could get deeper into consciousness and stuff. So give it up for Professor Karim Darwish.
Give thanks. I appreciate it, Tim. Tim is him and his wife are the only beings I know on the planet Earth that have two sets of twins. I mean, that's like very unusual. Even though I have a lot of twins in my patriarchal side of my family, I mean, I must have about maybe at least 3 or 4 sets of twins, you know, that ran through my father's sister's family. Now, in my hand here, I have something. Is anyone familiar with this? What this device is that's in my hand? If you have any knowledge of it, could you express it? This is known as a tepe. When people do ayahuasca ceremonies, there's a period of time in the beginning in which something is blown into their nostrils. And once that happens, the person has a 15-minute experience. Just like, you know, people talk about dimethyltryptamine, how it can give you like a 15-minute experience, and some people get strapped down to the gurney to go through that experience just in case they might flip out. Well, just like the gentleman before me was talking about a whole lot of issues that are at hand that we need to address communally, and even going back before him, what Ross Ben said is critical for that paradigm to occur in our thinking process because of the fact that we are all we have, us. By us being here, it shows that we have a certain commonality. And people that are here, I'm quite sure they would fall under the category of truth seekers. You want to know the reality. You want right knowledge. You want to know the truth. You want to actualize the truth in your life in this incarnation. And in order for you to do that, you have to be communicating with the right plant medicine, communicating with the right crystal technology like Brother Ross Ben has, or organite like my brother El Hagan has. You have to tap into the plant kingdom, queendom. You must tap into these things. These are aids to help you to connect with your truth. Now, many of us have gone through the process of listening to preachers, listening to imams, listening to rebbes, listening to chiefs or whatever, listening to the president. But one thing that is so beautiful about dealing with sacred plant medicine is the message it gives you is unique for you, for your oversoul higher truth. The plant medicine doesn't have any reason to lie to you. But a man or a woman may have ulterior motives. They possibly may lead you down the wrong path where you'll be slaughtered. So there are many ways to achieve higher consciousness. You got mantras, you got meditation, you got music. All of those ways can get you to a certain level of higher consciousness. But you might be surprised to know that people like Arjuna and Krishna and Buddha and Osir or Osiris used to use plant medicine. Like they say the burning bush is the Acacia confusa plant tree. The acacia, which was used in ancient Kemet, and it also has dimethyltryptamine. And of course, that has to be mixed with the monooxidase inhibitor, which is known as the wild Syrian rue, or African Ra, as it was called in ancient Kemet. So you have these different plants. And what happens is when you do these, they tap you into some information that could be highly beneficial for your growth. You might want to be figuring out about what your occupation should be, or should you get into this relationship with this person. You have people that travel all the way from Italy and go to the Amazon rainforest to go on an ayahuasca journey so that they can get a message and know exactly what they need to do with their business deal, and then go back and execute it. And I've seen it happen too many times in the myriad of meditation facilitations I've done throughout the years with people. And I've seen the plant medicine help the person make a breakthrough, to get more clarity, to know what it is, their purposes in life, and what they need to do. And they just shoot straight to the finish line. I've seen it happen over and over and over again. I have one person right here. I'm not going to put her on Front Street, but she's a testimonial. She had the experience. And there's other people in here that have had the experience too. My book goes into giving an explanation of what happened to me. I was in a mental hospital for 3 months. And I don't know if you know that, but when you go into a mental hospital, you have to go before a judge. But before you go before a judge, you have a doctor. 2 doctors have to sign you off as being crazy. But they don't have no solution for no Kundalini experience. You see, they're going to say you psychotic. They're going to say that you're suicidal. They're going to say you're manically depressed. They're going to use all of these terms, and they're going to give you medication. And that medication is going to make you feel old before your time. You won't even be, you might get to the point where you feel like you don't even have a soul anymore. I had that experience. But what happened for me was when I came out and I knew about a person that was doing meditations on the beach, on Rockaway Beach in New York City. And I winded up in 2012 going to Rockaway Beach during the summer solstice before Hurricane Sandy hit later on that year. And I had some of the most incredible experiences of my life. I even experienced the first things that happen to you before you start to levitate. Like they say, the yogis that be levitating, what be happening to them? Well, there was so much energy coming through my root chakra that I was bouncing off of the beach floor. But the medicine helped me to make the connection with it. We have to look at these things in a very reverent manner when we approach the plant medicine, even if you're dealing with cannabis. You know, come out of that recreational thing and look at it more as a meditation. Of course, a lot of ideas have been created. You don't know how many songs have been written off of entheogens. That's for sure. A lot has been written off of that. So the main point that I'm making here is that take time to study the plant kingdom and know what can aid you in this life. You may be deficient and you may need certain plant for a certain reason. You know, you might need your super green foods. We got to be into the superfoods. We need the energy. Something could go down. You need to have a survival backpack that has some things in it that you can do like Cain did in Kung Fu. Like had like a powder that he could put in the water and survive off of it. We got to be thinking like that. You might need to have you some psilocybin cubensis stashed away in there too, because you might have to do a journey to figure your way out of the situation you in. You might need a little help. So keep your mind open on that. If anyone happens to have any questions for me, you can come over to my table and reason with me. And if your heart becomes kind enough to maybe purchase one of my books, it would be highly appreciated. Does anyone have any questions?
What do you have to say to people who try to take a cheap way of getting the shamanic and energetic high with cough medicine and a local pharmacy?
Molly?
No, cough is an extra
Okay. It's dangerous. I mean, anything that's been produced in a laboratory that's not from nature, you know, there's a great possibility of it's been compromised. You know, I mean, there are people that say that they've had benefits from LSD and other things like that. But the point is that when you deal with the plant, you're doing something that's been done for thousands of years. It's been proven to work. You know, it's been proven to work. You don't get no side effects. You can't OD on mushrooms. You can't. You know, I mean, your room might disappear. You might see yourself in outer space smoking on a hookah pipe with a gin or something like that. That might happen to you, but it's not going to kill you. Now, your mind has to be tempered so that you can deal with something like that. So you got to take micro doses and work your way up to that. There's steps that you have to take. It's very important. Anyone that's considering going to the Amazon or any of those places to do plant medicine, understand it's very important, just as well as the medicine, it's very important the facilitator. The facilitator is just as important as the actual medicine is. Because a lot of these facilitators, people are dying going out there. They're getting killed, women are getting raped, all kinds of things happen. Even though they do have some reputable retreat centers in Peru and in Brazil and different places that you can go to that have good reputations. But the plant medicine is available here too. And sometimes you have shamans that come here and they do rituals and different things like that. So that type of thing does exist. But the medicine is available for people that are interested in taking that journey. It could be one of the best things you ever did in your life, especially if you have a history of being in a mental institution. Yes, sister. How old can a person be? Well, the first thing that you do when you do this, you ask the plant. When you do your first meditation, you ask the plant those questions you're asking me, and you'll get the answers in the meditation. Because everybody's different. Some people do it one time, and that's enough. You know, some people who decide to take on the shaman's path and work with that medicine, it's an unlimited amount of times that they do it. Now, when you start getting into something like Iboga, now you're talking about something that's, you could die doing that. You're talking about a minimum of a 36-hour meditation. And usually it's 72 hours, and it can last up to a week. And you have to be like babysitted. This is what the Witi people in Gabon, they use this medicine. And it's included in the rites of passage ceremony. You're not considered to be a full man unless you take that journey. And it's used also for drug addicts, people that are addicted. There was a documentary that I seen on YouTube where they had the monks in Thailand, and there were several people coming like from Europe and all over the world that were drug addicts. They were heroin addicts, and they wanted to kick, and they went there and they did the ceremony, and it helped them to recover. Some of them relapse, but they always have the alternative. They can revisit that journey again and do it until they get it right. Sometimes you have to repeat things before you get it right. You might not get it right the first time because you are hard-headed. The same thing happens sometimes with doing the meditation. Sometimes I get people, they're hard heads. They got to take more medicine than other people have. So that's how it works. Just like you were over there with Ross Ben and you was going through the crystals and everything, you got the same thing going on with the plant kingdom, queendom. Same thing. You know, then you start getting into the angelic realm. You got the angelic realm. You know, you got, see, there's a differentiation. You have people that talk about fallen angels. Then from the Sufi or the Islamic tradition, they say jinns, beings created from smokeless fire. So it's important for us as universal beings and being multidimensional, we need to be aware of what's going on in the worlds around us. We must become more aware. And that's what the plant medicine has helped me to do, to become more aware of myself. Even certain DNA questions you have, you can find out on a deeper level about yourself, who you are. And all of those things are very important for you to know about. And the information is available. And we need to take advantage of these things, because the way things are going, you don't know what could happen. You need to get a stash on some medicine. You know, just like you have other things, like you have your foods and other things, you need to have your medicine too. Of course, a lot of us that are indigenous, even to the culture of this land, the ancient culture of this land, there were peyote. You have in Mexico, you have the frog medicine. I don't know how many people are familiar with the frog medicine. That's like considered to be 4 times more powerful than ayahuasca. And that's like a 15-minute experience. But you become egoless in that experience. Like you in the middle of the universe, in touch with Source. We need to get in touch with Source. You know, so we can get away from a lot of this dogmatic bullshit that's constantly being indoctrinated into our consciousness on a subconscious and on many other levels. Thank you all very much for giving me your listening ears. I appreciate it. I'm humbled to be here. I'm grateful. And I acknowledge the Most High in all of you. In wholeness and balanced vibrations to you all. Thank you.
All right, Professor Karim Darwish. I want to thank Professor Karim again for filling in last minute.